with a voice that's about an octave lower than normal. OCDLA has concerns with this bill as well as 2620 and 2721, primarily for the same reasons. We feel that it really disturbs the very careful calibration of our assault statutes that distinguish the seriousness level of an assault from a B misdemeanor to an A misdemeanor to a C, B, or A felony along 3 separate scales. And these scales are derived from the Model Penal Code, something that's been imported into other state laws as well. So the 3 scales upon which the elevator, the calibration of the seriousness of the assault, is with the mental state of the defendant, the level of injuries sustained by the victim, and a weapon, if one is used, by the assailant. And so in my testimony, I give an example. If you recklessly cause physical injury to someone, that's a misdemeanor, A misdemeanor. If you recklessly cause serious physical injury by means of a deadly or dangerous weapon, that's a C felony. But if you recklessly cause serious physical injury by means of a deadly or dangerous weapon under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life, then you're up to a B felony. So there's calibrations along the mental state, the level of injury, and whether or not a weapon was employed. What is not an elevator is the vocation of the injured person. It just never entered into the equation. So the Model Penal Code makes no differential on vocations of the injured person in distinguishing a misdemeanor from a felony. Oregon has done that 4 times. And I remember the discussions in the defense bar. The very first time a misdemeanor assault was elevated to a C felony assault as an assault 3 was for the taxi cab drivers. And this was back in an era before you could pay with a credit card, so it was a cash-driven work, and they often carried a lot of cash. They were subject to assaults from the back end of their face because their job is to face forward and to be in control of the vehicle. And they felt very exposed. So they asked for felony status so that they could put a sign up on that bar between the front seat and the passenger back seat that says, assault of a taxi driver is a felony in Oregon. And they operated on the presumption that there would be deterrence value from this sign. Second to come along was the mass transit workers. So this was where we have in 2717, the exception that reads, the operator is in control of or operating the vehicle. Operators, these were bus drivers primarily at the time, were saying again, well, we're as equally as exposed and vulnerable as are the taxi drivers. So we also want a sign right near our seat that says assault of a bus driver is a felony. They got that. Third bill to come along were the EMTs, emergency medical technicians. Their perspective was, we are down on the ground, back exposed to people surrounding us. Often there's agitation around us, and there were instances when people would come up and assault the EMT because, again, they would have their back exposed to the crowd as they were working on the individual on the ground. And that was the first instance when you really didn't have the opportunity for any deterrence by and through a sign. But the argument was, if taxi cab drivers get it, bus drivers get it, we should get it too. That was passed. And then the fourth time was the Oregon Youth Authority Corrections staff. And this one did have some legitimate argument for deterrence there, because there was a video clip of the OIA correction officers are out and about in the general population at OIA, and these kids are not in lockdown like they are in adult facilities. So the staff's job is to really mingle with the kids. And one of the staff workers really just simply for no agitated reason, this kid just came out of nowhere and just clipped him from the backside.
Thank you.
And there is some argument to be made that in a closed, confined facility like an OIA facility, there could be some deterrent value because the word does travel that if you assault one of the staff, you're going to get in a felony. What our concern is, and what we see time and time again, is more and more vocations keep coming to the plate saying, well, we're special too. Protect us too. And what we do worry about is, where will this list of specialness where will it end? Where will it begin and when will it end? We think all workers are of equal dignity and equal value. All workers are entitled to go to work without the threat of being assaulted. So to some extent, the question has been raised as, well, what's the purpose of punishment here? Is this deterrence? Is this just desserts? I would say with respect to deterrence, generally you have to look at the mental state of the individual doing the act. With an assault, you're either dealing with someone who is in high agitation and isn't using a lot of control, or they're engaged in reckless conduct. And so then, therefore, it's not even really necessarily thinking conduct. So you're not going to have a whole bunch of deterrent value just from engaging in assaultive behavior. The questions become, can you have signage? And the other question becomes, do you have a closed environment like an OIA facility where the word might get out? There was some testimony offered here with respect to some of those injuries. The differential right now between a simple assault and a felony assault is whether or not it's physical injury versus serious physical injury. The woman who reported that she was sexually assaulted, she describes a Measure 11 sex abuse in the first degree. That's a C felony. That's mandatory minimum sentence of 75 months. So had that been reported and prosecuted, that already would have been a felony. Happy to answer any questions. Those are the nature of our concerns.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Meyer. And just one of the things I think the reason people keep coming up is because even at the misdemeanor level, nobody's seeing the prosecutions and convictions, and they are hoping to increase a little bit. Please, then we are really short.
Yeah, I'll do it really quick. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Meyer, the one question I have for you is, so nice history, by the way.
Thank you.
It's very helpful. But we're not adding to this. What we're saying in mass transit is that it doesn't make sense for it to only be that one small thing. So don't you think that this is not really expanding the mandate by simply correcting that statute?
Chair Barker and Representative Gorsuch, I've been following your discussions there on 2717, and I understand the point. The point of it is, if they get out of their chair to help someone with a wheelchair, can't the sign still do the work? And you know, if the legislative body felt it was legitimate when it did elevate this to a felony, I would agree with you. This could be a distinction with no difference. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Pat.